So much like WWE itself and the internet wrestling community, we here at What Culture cannot stop talking about the Roman Reigns title run. I mean, for starters, it's going to go on forever, but also it just brings up so many damn questions. It also shapes basically everything the company does do, so I think it's time to look into the past and look into the future and talk about 5 people that probably should have beaten Roman Reigns, or at least could have done, 5 that may be able to do it in the future. So let's start with the ones that could have had the opportunity, but WWE decided no. And in number 5, it's Kevin Owens. And there may be some bias here from me in the sense that Kevin Owens hasn't been a world champion since 2016, and that is absolutely ridiculous. I mean, the man is so damn consistent, and he never drops the ball. Sometimes you gotta give him a nice hug and a belt. I also truly believe that if WWE weren't so obsessed with the 1,000-day reign, that Kev would have actually got the nod by now. But sadly, they love this record. Instead, Roman Reigns defeated KO at TLC 2021, a random episode of SmackDown in December, and the Royal Rumbles in 2021 and 2023, but don't worry about that last one. As we did have all these matches though, I do think you could argue that from nowhere we could have done one title switch, given it to Kevin Owens, everybody would have done the Dance of Joy, and then sure, you get to another one of these matches and you can put it back on the Tribal Chief. I think it would have sparked some interest and it would have sparked some ratings, although once again I do get it. We were already in, we must protect Reigns at all costs, so that's what they did. And we built up a fence. The reason it works so well with Kevin Owens is because he is a guy that could win it and then lose soon afterwards, because he's just so damn good. And it basically ties into the Shawshank Redemption. Do you know what we need in life and what we need in wrestling? Hope. And if KO had got a victory here, every single time the head of the table had a match, you'd be like, well, I don't think he's going to lose, but I'm not entirely sure. Which is the same for number 4, Daniel flippin' Bryan. Now in hindsight, I'm sure WWE feels very happy they didn't do this because Daniel Bryan left, became Bryan Danielson, and he's now in AEW. But he too had a run of matches with Roman Reigns. So we had Fastlane, WrestleMania 38, and that SmackDown when Bryan was defeated and then said bye-bye. But given that he did put his career on the line, can you imagine if he was also the champion? Nobody would have seen this coming and it would have been twice as good. But I suppose it is kind of redundant now because by this period we'd already decided that Mr. Table should go all the way. But I give you the best justification for even thinking about it. The fans love Daniel Bryan. Sometimes that's enough, which was the same for number 3, Drew McIntyre. But this very much tied into the Clash at the Castle show that happened in Wales, and even though Drew is Scottish, WWE spent a long time going, yeah, don't worry about that. We're just talking about Great Britain here, the United Kingdom, don't think about anything else. So McIntyre winning here would have been a win for us all, and 99% of people totally thought this was going to happen. There was no way that Drew was going to lose. Then he did. Now the reason this was so annoying to some is because it was the largest event that WWE had done in the UK for years, but the reason it gets a free pass in my book is because the finish was so damn good. Nobody thought that Solo Sikoa was going to be called up from NXT and join the Bloodline, and the timing of that referee pull was wonderful. I mean, ultimately, any kind of title reign you do should be building new stars, and we've totally done this. So yeah, this one I can actually take or leave. I tell you what didn't help. The fact that after Drew McIntyre had been defeated, we had that weird karaoke section with Tyson Fury. That didn't work for me. And of course you know where we go next with number 2, Cody Rhodes. Now it's kind of easy to move past this as well because I still totally believe that come the summer, the American Nightmare will be the champion. We don't know that. It's pure speculation. Just go and look at the reaction after WrestleMania 39 Part 2 though. People were so damn mad. Now I always think there's something to this because if you do get emotion out of your fans, you must have done something right. But it did leave a few scratching their heads going, well, where do we go next? I mean, what is the actual end game? Especially because every single finish is just Bloodline interferes, lol. I mean, eventually Bill Murray's going to turn up. I think this was WWE's major mistake, to be honest, because again, if we go back to the Clash at the Castle premium live event, that felt really creative. So if we could have come up with something similar here, I actually think a lot more people would have been cool with it. Now we are past the fact, though, so many people are coming out the woodwork, such as Stone Cold Steve Austin, and saying, well, hell, pal, I actually thought this was the way to go. So actually, this is one of those wrestling cliches. Just gonna have to wait and see. Which of course brings us to number 1, Sami Zayn. Now even though it was the Elimination Chamber, which is definitely considered a B show, there there was just a wave of momentum where we all decided, I don't care if it's a B show, a C show, a Z show, Sami Zayn needs to be the guy to defeat Roman Reigns, just do it, Nike. I mean, you always strike when the iron is hot, and this man was smoking, plus we were doing it in Montreal, his hometown. I mean, when Sami Zayn came out in front of that crowd, he just stood there for like 92 minutes, and he didn't even have to say a damn word. He was over. It really did make the match a proper roller coaster because I too had no clue in what direction we were going to go here when we actually went Bloodline interferes, LOL. And admittedly, WWE did have an easy out here because they were going to be able to pivot to the Kevin Owens Sami Zayn friendship and have them go after the tag team titles with the Usos, which is what they did do. And don't forget, that did give us the main event of WrestleMania 39 Part 1. I thought all of that was bloody fantastic. However, I also do lean on the fact that it's wrestling. Who the flub cares? Let's just have some fun with it. And yeah, you can't dispute it. Are we ever going to be in this situation with Sami Zayn again? No, we're not. Because the first time was the time, and that was the first time. Let's be positive though, because of course something is going to have to happen as we do go down the line. Before we get into the nitty gritty, let's do some honorable mentions, because you never know. Gunther could do it. A Bobby Lashley could do it. Or if you want to get super fanboy, Jey Uso could do it. Now, I don't think WWE will pull the trigger on any of these, but I wanted to throw their names out there anyway. Now, there are more serious mentions, of course, which is where we are going to start, and I actually have a whole video about this next guy coming out soon, but Seth frickin' Rollins. And do not forget the last time he clashed with the Tribal Chief, it ended in a disqualification, meaning technically Seth got the win, and out of every single person Roman has tangled with, he's never really beaten Seth. I mean, the truth is WWE seems to have forgotten about this, but what if they haven't? And what if they have stored it away in the back of their brains? Something is coming. And if you do decide to do this as well, you probably could stretch out the title reign to WrestleMania 40, because then you can tell the story of the Shield and how these two have risen up the ranks together. So once more, keep an eye on the channel, because we're going to get into this. But I don't think it's actually as out there as at first I so thought. Some people think that's too boring though. So okay, let's go nutty. MJF. But look at the timelines. Given that we keep hearing about the great bidding war of 2024, and that rhymes, so there must be something to it, you probably do have a potential situation where Maxwell Jacob Friedman could sign with WWE, much like Cody Rhodes, he debuts at WrestleMania. So if you really want to melt the wrestling world down and put a rubber stamp on it, have him take on Roman Reigns at that show and have him win. I mean, I cannot see any kind of universe where this does happen. But why aren't we having fun? I don't want to repeat myself. It's sports entertainment, who really cares? You also do get a massive benefit from this because you send a massive message to the AEW locker room where you say, look, if you jump over here and we think you're good enough, we'll push you to the moon. And of course it's proper pie in the sky stuff, and I don't think we'd ever green light this because Vince McMahon would probably see an MJF and be like, well, I can work with him, pal, but not until he's reshaped him in a Vince McMahon image. I mean, he's been doing this since WCW. Just the way the man works. We would never stop talking about it though, so let's try and take someone who's a little closer to home, and you know who we're referring to. It's Bron Breakker. I mean, I have said for years that at some point we've got to take someone from developmental and just let them run wild, have them win a Royal Rumble, have them go on to WrestleMania, and have them become the champion. And given that WWE loves Double B, why not him? You got a star. And of course you have to tell the tale to people that may not be familiar with Breakker, but that's an easy job to do. And within 4 months, kapow, you would have done it. And then people go, oh no, we need to take our time. He needs to pay his dues. Why? Why? One day I'm going to be dead. Let's just get shit done. And you know what? If you don't want to do that, fine. Let's go a more boring route. The Rock. And the reason I always thought Cody was going to lose at WrestleMania is because the original plan was Dwayne Johnson versus Roman Reigns. There ain't no way that Dwayne was going to walk away as the world champion after WrestleMania 39. But if we do this at WrestleMania 40, all of a sudden maybe he could. Because ever since then, Endeavor now owns WWE, and they would probably think, oh my gosh, having Mr. Hollywood as our champion would be the best thing ever. But also when we get to 2024, maybe The Rock does decide that he wants to properly retire. So he could win the World Championship at WrestleMania, he could be inducted into the Hall of Fame, when he walks out onto Monday Night Raw and goes, if you smell, and then says, yep, I'm done, and the belt is being vacated. I mean, I think that would suck, but can I see it happening? Yes. The reason it would get me is because it means no one benefits from the power of beating Roman Reigns. The Rock doesn't need that. But if you don't think this has been pitched in a WWE creative meeting, Well, I would say that you're wrong. Which brings us to guy number 5, and we're kind of going back round the houses here. It's, of course, Cody Rhodes. I mean, we've already discussed it, and let's not pretend the American Nightmare is in the doldrums next. He can beat Brock Lesnar, he can go to SummerSlam, and he can still beat Roman and be like, haha, I finally got you. And yes, you can stretch it out to Mania 40 should you so wish, but as soon as we are past 1,000 days, Cody is the man. I mean, look at him. He's basically the new John Cena. So essentially, all WWE has done here is go on their own timeline as opposed to going with our timeline. I actually respect and appreciate that. It's better than ripping up the script. So let's just keep the hope alive and let's all celebrate when Rhodes does win and let's get behind him. Because then he can become the tippity-top star and then everything Roman Reigns did had a very succinct purpose. Alright. Now please do leave a comment below and let me know what you think about Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns and what we should do with this title reign. Like the video, share the video and subscribe. Make sure you click a video on the screen. Make sure you go to whatculture.com. And make sure you follow us at What Culture WWE and Simon Miller 316 on social media. My name is Simon for What Culture. Thank you very much for joining me as always. Make Eternia great again, because poor Skeletor, he needs a hand too. Don't know why I referenced my clothes. Goodbye.